everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to talk about prioritization. So in my past experience as an implementation consultant, one of my favorite things that my boss used to say to clients is that with unlimited time, money and resources, we can deliver anything you want, in any shape or form, but since reality is quite different from that ideal world, we need to prioritize some of the items that we have. So this pretty much sums up the importance of prioritization in my mind, because oftentimes without any intention, things come up that can disrupt your process, that can disrupt your delivery time and deadline, and things can change. So oftentimes the importance of each requirement is based on the ease or difficulty of implementing that task, as well as risk of not implementing that requirement and what kind of impact it can have on an organization. As a business analyst, you often have to assess what kind of financial impact this deliverable will have on the organization, as well as some of the regulatory constraints as well. As a business analyst, you have to think about some of the important factors when thinking about prioritization. So personally, I oftentimes think about the financial impact that this is going to have on an organization. How much money can it save? How many hours of labor can we save by implementing this change? As well as how many people are affected by this change. So is it going to affect 10 people, 100 people, or thousands of people? And at the end of the day, we also have to consider whether or not this is a critical requirement. So oftentimes regulatory requirements are considered critical because we need to stay in compliance and make sure that our company follows all the laws and regulatory guidelines that are provided by government. So there are four main types of prioritization that I'd like to talk about today. The first one is called grouping. So what happens is you have to look at all the requirements that you have, and then you have to group them into three different buckets, including high, medium, and low. So basically, depending on the sense of urgency and how soon you need to deliver these requirements, you have to assess whether or not there's a workaround, what's the impact if this is not delivered on time, and what kind of other, whether or not this is a critical deliverable for regulatory requirements. So you have to decide as a business analyst what the criteria is going to be used to group them into different categories, but this is one of the most common ones that I've always used, and the one that a lot of people are also familiar with. And so the second one is called ranking, and as you can tell from the name itself, that you have to take a look at all of your requirements that you've submitted or your customer has submitted, and basically rank them from most important to least important, and basically create a backlog of lists, and then this is a way that you'll be able to prioritize them. So it's often used for product management, where they have to rank them by number, and then they can actually group them into different releases, so then they can deliver them in the future. So the third approach is called time unboxing or budgeting, where it really focuses on your limited resource. In this case, it could be time and or money. So basically the premise of this approach is to really focus on how much the project team can deliver within this specific timeline, and then really hold them accountable to deliver those specific changes, given that it's tight timeline as well as the budget that they have approved for that specific timeline. So basically it's working with project team, and based on these constraints, they have to come up with what's most critical for us to have for this quarter, and how we're going to deliver it, what's the impact. So the similar type of prioritization, but it really does integrate with project team and what they deem as unnecessary and important. Fourth one is called negotiation, and this is, I must admit, one of my least favorite approaches out of all the prioritization methods that we have. And one of the reasons is because it's oftentimes hard to make time where everybody can come together and have an extended discussion about whether or not certain items are more important if you don't have shared goals. Say, for example, accounting could say, this is our number one priority. And then somebody from another project team or purchasing can say, no, this is not our priority, like this has no impact on operations. So oftentimes it can lead to more disputes, and it'll be really hard for the team and all the stakeholders to come to a general consensus. So oftentimes what I would do if we have negotiation planned is to review all of those requirements in advance and then ask all the stakeholders to give me some numbers or figures that I can work with. In this way, we can actually assess it more at the high level from an organizational perspective and not just from where I stand within that organization. So the role of BA is critical throughout this whole prioritization process, because you have to be the facilitator, and you also have to be on neutral stance, so you're not taking anybody's sides, but you have a pretty clear understanding of what those requirements are and how much work and effort it's going to take in terms of estimates. And you also have to have a very good understanding of what the manual workarounds or other processes might be if those requirements cannot be delivered on time. So oftentimes that will be sort of the role of business analysts in terms of prioritization, and you also have to work closely with a project manager to make sure that everybody is sort of on the same page. Some of the strength of prioritization, in my opinion, is that it really focuses on the realistic constraints of deliverables, and also it is an efficient model in a sense that you have to prioritize things depending on what the impact is and what the change is going to bring about. But at the same time, on the other hand, it can be quite subjective, and without establishing a clear criteria or without having a very good understanding of what the impact of not having or delivering that product or service, it could really hamper the decision making of prioritization process, and it can really be subjective. So those are some of the pitfalls that you might want to watch out for when you're using prioritization. You always have to think about things more on an organizational level. How is it going to impact everybody at the high level, and then what kind of dollar amounts or number of hours can we associate if that requirement is not delivered on time. So that is it for today's video. Let me know if you've used any other prioritization methods in the past in your own organization. I would love to know. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and like my videos. Thank you. Bye.